You know that feeling. Like in cybersecurity, you're just constantly playing defense, and the attackers always seem, well, one step ahead.
Yeah, it feels like whack-a-mole sometimes.
Exactly. And traditional defenses, they often feel like they're lagging, maybe letting threats slip through. So if you're tired of that reactive stance and maybe looking for something more robust, something that really changes the game.
Yeah, fundamental shift.
Yes, then you are definitely in the right place today. We are doing a deep dive into Zero Trust Network Access, ZTNA. It's genuinely a groundbreaking strategy that's really redefining trust online.
And what's so revolutionary, really, is that core idea. Never trust, always verify. It sounds simple, maybe, but it's a complete flip from the old ways. You know, traditional security, the perimeter model, it basically said, okay, you're inside the castle walls, you're good.
Right.
Trusted. But ZTNA says, nope, threats can come from anywhere, even inside. So every single time someone or something tries to access a resource, we verify, even if they're already logged in. It treats every request like it's potentially hostile until proven otherwise.
That shrinks the potential damage hugely, I imagine.
Oh, massively. It's a real paradigm shift.
So, okay, our mission for this deep dive then is to unpack this whole ZTNA revolution. We've looked at some really interesting sources, and we're going to get into why it's needed so badly now, how it actually works, you know, the mechanics.
Nuts and bolts.
Exactly. The advantages it brings.
Yeah.
And this is key, how you can integrate it without, you know, causing a total IT meltdown.
Shamelessly, hopefully.
That's the goal. #tag the why and what of Zero Trust Network Access. Okay, let's kick things off with the why. Why are those old castle and moat defenses just not cutting it anymore? And how does ZTNA step up?
Well, the threat landscape has just changed so dramatically. Those perimeter defenses, they were designed for a different era, really. Now, threats are way more sophisticated. They're pervasive. They don't just knock on the front door. They might slip in through a window, maybe steal some credentials, or even start from inside.
The insider threat, yeah. Or compromised accounts.
Exactly. And once they're inside a traditional network, they can often move around pretty freely. Lateral movement, it's a huge problem. Our sources really highlight that.
Okay.
ZTNA tackles this because it stops relying only on the network boundary. Instead, it puts the focus squarely on verifying the user and the device for every single access attempt.
So it's not just about who, but who, on what, from where, doing what.
Precisely. It uses a whole range of contextual factors. It's constantly asking, is this user really who they say they are? Is the device they're using secure and healthy? Are they in an expected location? Is their behavior normal for this time and this resource? It's dynamic.
That sounds much smarter. What are some of those specific contextual factors you mentioned, the things ZTNA looks at?
Yeah, the sources point to several key ones. Definitely device health, is it patched? Running endpoint security, is it compromised? Maybe jailbroken? Then user identity, obviously verified strongly. Location is a big one.
Geolocation, yeah.
Right. And user behavior patterns. Is this access request typical for this user, or does it look weird? You know, like trying to access sensitive data they never touch, or downloading huge amounts at 3 a.m.
Got it. All those signals feed into the access decision.
In real time. That's the key.
Okay, so if ZTNA is the answer to this constant security battle, how does it actually work? What are the core pieces that make this never trust, always verify thing happen continuously?
Right. It's not just one thing. It's really a combination of 4 core components working together. First up is microsegmentation.
Okay.
Think of your network not as one big open space, but as being divided into lots of small secure zones or segments.
Like watertight compartments on a ship?
Exactly like that. It drastically shrinks the attack surface. If one segment gets compromised, the breach is contained. The attacker can't just wander freely through the whole network. It limits that lateral movement we talked about.
Makes sense. What's next?
Second is multi-factor authentication, MFA and encryption. MFA is absolutely crucial. It's not just a password anymore. You need multiple ways to prove you are who you say you are.
Something you know, something you have, something you are.
You got it. That adds a huge layer of security.
Correct.
And alongside MFA, strong encryption is non-negotiable. Protecting data, both when it's stored somewhere, you know, at rest, and also when it's moving across the network in transit, keeps prying eyes away.
Okay, 2 down. What else?
Third, we have identity-based access controls. This goes way beyond just basic user roles.
Right, not just admin or user.
No, much more granular. Access is granted based on that whole identity picture, who the user is, what device they're using, its security posture, their location, the time of day, the specific resource they want. All that context matters for each request.
Very specific permissions.
highly specific, and dynamic, which leads to the fourth component, continuous monitoring and adaptive access policies.
Ah, so it's not set and forget.
Absolutely not. ZTNA is always watching. It monitors behavior, device health, other context signals constantly. And the access policies aren't static, they adapt in real time.
Meaning?
Meaning, if something changes, say, a device suddenly fails a health check or a user's behavior looks suspicious, the system can automatically adjust their access, maybe step up authentication, limit what they can do, or even block access entirely, right away.
Wow. Real-time response.
That's the power of it, adapting to risk as it changes.
Okay, that sounds incredibly robust.
Yeah.
Now, let's translate that. For you, our listener, maybe you're thinking about this for your company or just trying to understand the landscape. What are the tangible benefits, the big wins from adopting ZTNA?
That's really the bottom line, isn't it? There are 4 key advantages that consistently come up. First, and maybe the most obvious, is just enhanced security.
Hmm.
By sticking to that never trust, always verify rule, you drastically reduce the risk of breaches, whether they come from outside attackers or internal threats. It's a much more proactive security posture, less chance of data theft, ransomware, all that nasty stuff.
Okay, better protection. What else?
Second, and this is huge today, improved user experience. You might think tighter security means more hassle for users, right?
Often does, yeah.
But ZTNA, when done well, actually aims to be pretty seamless for legitimate users. It allows secure access to resources from anywhere, on any device, without adding a ton of friction. It really supports remote work and mobility.
So secure access doesn't have to mean a frustrating experience.
Exactly. The goal is security that enables productivity, not hinders it. Third is scalability and flexibility. ZTNA isn't this rigid, monolithic thing. It's designed to be adaptable. It can fit different kinds of network environments, cloud, on-prem, hybrid. It works for small organizations, huge enterprises, different industries. It scales with you.
Good to know it's not just for the giants.
Not at all. And fourth, a really important one, regulatory compliance. Think GDPR, HEK, PCI DSS, all those regulations.
Yeah, compliance is a major driver.
ZTNA helps significantly here. Those strict access controls, the microsegmentation, the strong encryption, the detailed logging, it all provides a strong foundation for meeting compliance requirements around protecting sensitive data.
So it ticks a lot of boxes: security, usability, scalability, compliance.
Yeah.
For you listening, that means, well, a safer way to work and interact digitally, whether you're connecting remotely or using cloud apps. More reliable, less risk. Sounds pretty good.
It's a compelling package when you look at it that way.
Okay, so with all these compelling benefits, the next logical question for many is probably, all right, how do we actually do this? Is it like installing new software or is it more complex? What does a successful ZTNA rollout look like?
It's definitely more involved than just installing software. It's really a strategic initiative. Think of it as adopting a new security philosophy, which means it involves people and processes just as much as the technology itself. It's holistic.
Okay, so what are the steps then?
Well, it really starts with assessment and planning. You can't just jump in. You need to take a hard look at your current network, your applications, identify your most critical assets the crown jewels you absolutely need to protect.
Understand your starting point.
Exactly. And assess your organization's readiness for this kind of change. Then comes policy definition. This is crucial. You need to define very clear, granular access rules.
Based on identity and context.
Precisely. Who can access what, under which conditions, device health, location, time, etc. These policies are the brain of the ZTNA system. After that, you move into technology selection.
Choosing the tools.
Right. Picking the ZTNA vendor or solutions that best fit your specific needs, your existing infrastructure, and those policies you just defined. Not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Makes sense. Then deployment.
Well, usually a pilot deployment first. Don't try to boil the ocean. Test it out in a controlled way.
Like with one department or one key application.
Yeah, exactly. Work out the kinks, get feedback, make sure it's working as expected before you go big bang. And finally, implementation isn't the end. It requires continuous monitoring and optimization.
And as the threats change.
Always. So you need processes to keep watching, analyzing logs, tweaking policies, updating things to keep the ZTNA effective over the long haul. It's an ongoing cycle. #, seamless integration with existing IT infrastructure.
Now, one of the things that often trips up new tech adoption is how does it play with everything else we already have? People worry about integration, right? Is implementing ZTNA going to be a massive headache, forcing you to rip and replace existing systems?
That's a really common and understandable concern. And yeah, it can seem daunting. But the good news is, with careful planning and the right approach, ZTNA integration can be seamless. Or at least much smoother than you might fear.
So it's not necessarily about replacing everything.
Not at all. It's more about enhancing and layering on top of what you have, making smart connections to boost your overall security without completely upending your current operations. The goal is synergy, not disruption.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Hmm.
So what are the key steps to making that integration work, connecting ZTNA smoothly?
Well, again, it starts with that assessment of existing infrastructure. You really need to know what you're integrating with.
Your current setup.
Yep. Your access controls, your network gear, your endpoint solutions, your cloud services, even how your users typically behave. Get a clear map of the territory first.
Makes sense. Then what?
Then you identify the integration points. Where does ZTNA need to connect? This is critical. For instance, integrating with your existing identity and access management system, your IAM.
Like Okta or Azure AD?
Exactly. So ZTNA can leverage that user identity information. Then, connecting with network security appliances, firewalls, intrusion detection systems. ZTNA doesn't necessarily replace them, it often works with them. Also, integrating with your endpoint security solutions. Think MDM for mobile devices, antivirus, EDR tools. ZTNA needs to know the health of the device trying to connect.
Right, that device posture check.
Precisely. And critically, integrating with cloud services, extending ZTNA policies consistently, whether resources are on-premise or in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, maybe using CASB's Cloud Access Security Brokers.
So finding all those connection points.
Yes, and that directly informs selecting compatible ZTNA solutions. You need to choose vendors whose products actually support these integrations, use standard protocols, offer flexible deployment, and, well, play nice with your existing tech stack.
Compatibility is key.
Hugely. And then, just like with the initial rollout, you pilot the integration. Test these connections in a limited scope first. Does the IAM integration work? Does it pull device health correctly? Verify before scaling.
Test, test, test.
Always. And don't forget the people side, training and change management.
Ah, yes, getting everyone on board.
Crucial. End users need to understand any changes to how they access things. Security teams and IT staff need training on the new tools, policies, and procedures. You need buy-in across the board.
Can't just impose it.
Doesn't work well. And finally, ongoing monitoring and optimization applies to the integrations too. Keep an eye on access logs, user behavior, security alerts. Are the integrations working smoothly? Are there anomalies? Refine things as you go.
So it's a continuous process even after integration.
Absolutely. Security is never done. Hashtag tag outro.
So pulling this all together, what does it really mean for the future? It feels like Zero Trust Network Access isn't just another tool. It's genuinely a different way of thinking about security, more proactive, less reactive.
It absolutely is. It represents a fundamental shift towards a more intelligent, adaptive, and ultimately more effective security posture. ZTNA empowers organizations to really strengthen their defenses, reduce risk, protect those critical assets.
Your crown jewels.
Exactly. All in this world where everything's connected, users are everywhere, and threats are constantly evolving. And crucially, it aims to do this without wrecking productivity or the user experience.
Balancing security and usability.
That's the sweet spot it aims for. It's about rethinking that foundational element of trust online.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listener. As you navigate your own digital life, personal or professional, what old assumptions about trust, the kind we used to take for granted, might you need to start challenging? What do you need to never trust anymore in order to always verify a genuinely more secure future for yourself?